This is Bawler. Hello, I have prepared an important and interesting video for you. Subscribe and write in the comments what you think about it. Roughly 375 miles from Ukraine and approximately 388 miles to the southeast of Moscow sits the city of Penza, an urban center that rarely finds itself in international headlines. Yet, as the administrative hub of the Penza Oblast and one of Russia's top 40 most populous cities, it holds strategic value, particularly due to its role in Russia's military-industrial complex. That role recently turned it into a battlefield. On July 31st, the quiet city became the epicenter of an explosive Ukrainian drone strike that shook Russia's defense infrastructure and reignited global conversations about Ukraine's long-range capabilities. Once again, Ukraine demonstrated its escalating capacity to penetrate deep into Russian territory. A massive swarm of drones, likely coordinated by the Security Service of Ukraine, known as the SBU, descended on Penza with devastating precision. Their mission? To cripple the JSC radio-zavod plant, a vital facility producing military-grade radio electronics for Russian armed forces. That mission succeeded. Fires erupted, explosions rang out, and Russia was forced to confront yet another embarrassing defeat on home soil. According to exclusive reporting from the Kyiv Independent, which cited a confidential source within the SBU, no fewer than 11 distinct explosions were recorded at the target site. That strongly indicates that multiple drones successfully penetrated Russian air defenses and hit their intended marks. The main target, the radio-zavod plant, is not just any industrial site, it's a state-operated facility under the Rostec Corporation, a sanctioned entity at the heart of Russia's defense sector. The destruction inflicted upon it represents a significant setback, not only to Russian logistics, but also to the Kremlin's warfighting capabilities. Eyewitness reports and video evidence confirm what officials in Moscow have tried to minimize. A 54-second video originally posted on the Astra Telegram channel captures the moment when smoke billows above the plant and a Ukrainian drone briefly appears from the clouds before diving toward the already burning structure. The footage offers a clear view of the devastation, a fire blazing amid the compound with no visible response from Russian anti-air systems. No intercepting missiles, no anti-aircraft gunfire, just a drone making its final descent before exploding on impact. This silent footage, devoid of sound, speaks volumes about the state of Russia's homeland defenses. Two things are evident from the video. First, the plant was already on fire, suggesting that at least one drone had struck the facility prior to the video's start. Second, the drone visible in the clip completes its mission without resistance, meaning Russia's air defense in Penza either failed to detect the incoming threats or was incapable of stopping them. This is not an isolated failure, it's a pattern, and it's one Ukraine is now exploiting with precision and consistency. Despite all of this, Russia's response was predictable. Initial official statements downplayed the attack's severity. Penza's regional governor Oleg Melnichenko issued a brief comment acknowledging a fire at the facility and stating that it was being extinguished. But the narrative quickly began to unravel. As video evidence spread online, Melnichenko was forced to revise his comments, asserting that there were no casualties and no significant destruction, a claim that directly contradicted the reality on the ground. How can a massive fire engulf a factory without causing destruction? The contradiction speaks for itself. Meanwhile, Russian Telegram channels were filled with user-submitted videos and photos depicting flames, smoke, and wreckage at the plant. Analysts pointed out the absurdity of the official line, and yet the Kremlin stuck to its playbook: deny everything or minimize the impact so the domestic population doesn't panic or question the government's ability to defend the homeland. In this case, they didn't even resort to the usual drone debris excuse. Instead, they opted for what amounts to a blanket denial of reality. But Ukrainian officials and independent sources paint a far clearer picture. The Penza plant, according to a confidential SBU source cited by the Kyiv Independent, manufactures advanced automated control systems used throughout various sectors of the Russian military. These systems are critical for coordinating artillery fire, managing anti-aircraft assets, and directing Air Force operations. In effect, the factory plays a foundational role in ensuring that Russia's military remains coordinated and combat-ready. Destroying or disabling that plant, even temporarily, delivers a body blow to Russian command and control capabilities. Reports indicate that Ukraine's strike not only damaged production equipment but also destroyed critical storage facilities housing components needed for ongoing manufacturing. This means that even if the main production floors could be repaired quickly, the loss of parts and inventory will delay operations significantly. In terms of strategic value, this was a double hit, crippling both current production and future capacity. Putin's forces will feel this impact across multiple battlefronts in Ukraine. Penza, however, wasn't the only target that night. Ukrainian drones also struck inside the Volgograd region. Footage shared by Astra again shows flames burning in the distance, and a short clip reveals a fire near the Baranka Motel and Cafe, a location easily identifiable on Volgograd's Severnaya Street. The target here appeared to be a key railway station and the surrounding energy infrastructure. Fires and disruptions were confirmed, even though local authorities attempted once again to soften the blow. Volgograd's governor, Andrei Bocharov, issued a statement claiming that all drones were intercepted and that any fires were merely dry grass igniting. But he was forced to acknowledge at least some disruption, including the temporary shutdown of gas services to about 65 private homes. The official line remained the same: play it down, blame natural causes, and deny any real damage. But as usual, the reality supported by video and local witness accounts tells a very different story. Russia's Ministry of Defense went on record claiming that 32 Ukrainian drones were intercepted over 6 regions on the night of the 31st, with 11 shot down over Volgograd. Yet residents in Volgograd reported at least 5 distinct explosions, an indication that at least some of the drones hit their marks. And while the Penza strike clearly did more strategic damage, the Volgograd attack revealed a widening scope of Ukraine's long-range operations. This is not an isolated incident. It is part of a broader pattern that began in earnest after November 2024, when the United States authorized Ukraine to use American-supplied long-range weapons, including Attack-MS, against targets inside Russian territory. That policy shift opened the floodgates. Ukraine no longer had to hold back and could now focus its efforts on deep strikes aimed at degrading Russia's warfighting capabilities at their source. To complement this strategy, Ukraine began producing its own arsenal of long-range drones and missiles. In December 2024, the Atlantic Council reported on a new Ukrainian missile-drone hybrid known as Peklo, the Ukrainian word for hell. This drone was engineered to fly up to 700 kilometers at high speed, carrying a payload capable of serious destruction. Peklo was just one of several systems developed as part of Ukraine's growing deep strike initiative. The country reportedly aims to produce 30,000 long-range drones throughout 2025. And those efforts are bearing fruit. Between October 2024 and January 2025 alone, Ukraine launched at least 66 confirmed deep strikes into Russian territory. That number has continued to climb throughout the year. Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov confirmed in June that the country had not only ramped up the frequency of such operations, but was now scaling the effort even further, committing to a several-fold increase in drone deployment and high-precision strikes throughout Russia. Why this strategy? Because it works. First, Russia's vast size, its greatest pride, is also its greatest vulnerability. With over 17 million square kilometers of territory, Russia simply cannot protect every vital asset. Logistical challenges, long supply chains, and vast unguarded distances make deep strikes easier to execute. As retired Ukrainian General Ihor Romanenko stated, Russia's scale makes it maximally susceptible to targeted attacks. Second, every successful deep strike disrupts Russia's ability to support its forces in Ukraine. Destroying infrastructure like the Penza plant directly affects battlefield operations by cutting off supply lines, reducing weapon availability, and creating confusion in command structures. These disruptions have already slowed Russia's territorial gains in Ukraine to a crawl. In June, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, reported that Russian forces were advancing at a rate of just 50 meters per day in contested regions like Kharkiv. That's slower than British and French advances during World War I's infamous Battle of the Somme. Statistics from Russia Matters further highlight this slowdown. In June, Russia captured just 377 square kilometers, an increase over May but still minuscule compared to the effort expended. By early July, Russia was capturing only 29 square kilometers per week, the lowest rate since April. Strikes like the one in Penza are part of the reason why. With fewer automated systems for artillery and air defenses being produced, Russian troops are less equipped, less coordinated, and more vulnerable to Ukrainian resistance. There's also the psychological impact. Every successful Ukrainian strike chips away at Vladimir Putin's carefully cultivated image as the unbreakable guardian of Russia. That image was already shaken in 2024 when Ukrainian forces briefly occupied parts of Russia's Kursk region. It marked the first time since World War II that enemy troops had taken Russian land. The Penza and Volgograd attacks continue this narrative, that Putin cannot protect his homeland. The Conversation highlighted this effect in an August 2024 article, describing the Kursk incident as the most severe challenge to Putin's wartime narrative since the invasion began. It undermined his perceived strength, making him appear weak and vulnerable, traits that are politically dangerous for a strongman leader. As Johns Hopkins University analyst put it, Putin is now a weak strongman, too powerful to be removed easily, yet too damaged to govern effectively. This is why the July 31st strikes matter so much. They aren't just about damaging infrastructure, they're about eroding the foundation of Putin's legitimacy. The Russian people may not trust everything they see online, but they see enough to know their government is not in control. With every drone strike, the illusion of Russian invincibility fades. And as if the political, military, and psychological tolls weren't enough, nature itself seems to be turning against Putin. On the very same day as the Penza and Volgograd strikes, a powerful earthquake rocked one of Russia's most critical nuclear submarine bases. The symbolism is impossible to ignore. Putin's war machine shaken from within, battered from above, and now even rattled from beneath the earth. For more on that seismic development and its implications for Russia's naval capabilities, be sure to watch our follow-up video. Subscribe to Bawler to stay updated on Ukraine's evolving strategy, Russia's faltering war effort, and the shifting tide of 21st century warfare. And as always, thank you for watching.